Welcome to Changing the Game, where we share leadership insights and inspiration from female professionals who are making a difference in their industry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Duren, and today I'm joined by Taylor Martino. Taylor is the Director of Sales and Account Management at Birkman and a powerhouse in sales leadership with a pretty extraordinary track record. She has consistently led her teams to record-breaking years, driving millions in revenue while transforming sales organizations. As a former NCAA All-American and Team Canada athlete, she brought the same competitive spirit that defined her diving career to the world of sales. Taylor's leadership is remarkable, shattering sales targets and building teams that consistently outperform expectations. But what truly sets Taylor apart is her unique talent for developing and empowering sales professionals to reach their highest potential. Welcome, Taylor.
Thanks, Jordan. I'm so happy to talk to you today.
I'm so happy you're here, Taylor. We connected a couple weeks ago for everyone listening and really hit it off. And I'm just excited for Taylor to share a lot of her insights with you guys today. So let's get into it.
Yes.
So Taylor, you were an elite diver. You competed at the University of Houston and for Team Canada. Set the stage for us. What were you like growing up? Talk about some of your characteristics or maybe experiences that shaped you as an athlete.
Yeah, I started diving full time. Like, I was not a multi-sport athlete or anything. I started full-time diving by the time I was 8 years old, and I did that until I was 22. So I was very committed and focused and driven in like one thing my whole life. I'm competitive, like, very naturally, but like, I want to win board games, but it's not like make or break for me. I just always needed to have goals, and I think that's probably the biggest like trait about myself that I've really leaned into in my sales career that came from my diving background.
Yeah. So then naturally competitive, but not throwing the board games across the room for a loss. I love that. I wish I could say the same in our family growing up, but so what was your journey like then to Houston? How did you end up, or how did you land there?
Yeah, it's actually really cool. So my diving team back in Canada, an older girl, she got a full scholarship down to the University of Houston. So the coach would come and like watch our nationals and events like that. So my sister ended up getting a same full scholarship down to University of Houston for diving. And then a couple of years later, I had met this coach multiple times and she's watched me compete. So I ended up getting a full ride down to the University of Houston. And it all just kind of came from there. So a lot of divers in Canada do the athletic scholarships in the US because we don't have any system like that. It's really, you become a professional athlete or you stop doing your sport. So it was a really great way for me to do both.
I love that. So did it make it easier for you to get an opportunity to compete in the US because your sister had known this coach?
No, I don't think so. A lot of divers do this. I had a couple different offers for full scholarships to the US, and I was just really comfortable with the coach in Houston being in a different country.
Yes, and I didn't mean easier to get the scholarship. Yeah. I know that's very, very hard. I guess I meant just through the recruiting process with coming from a different country. I've never experienced that myself. So
yeah, I was lucky that I got to do a lot of international meets. So I met a lot of the coaches from the US, and we would send our videos and do stuff like that. But having that comfort and familiarity with the coach and the school and the place to me was really helpful in alleviating some of the stress with, starting university.
Totally. Yeah. So what was your collegiate experience like then in Houston coming from Canada?
Yeah. Honestly, it was the best. Diving is a really small community, so we were part of the swimming and diving team. So to get a bigger feel for that team, like the swimmers on our team as well, it was awesome. And then really the divers are still my best friends. Like, they are in my wedding, like we are super tight, but to be able to push each other all the time, because we spent so much time together, as every athlete on here would know, it's really just that comfort, but also the drive, like, hey, you can do better than this, and I want to win. So we were very competitive in a real sister way, which was awesome.
Yeah. So how did your experience competing for Team Canada fit into your story then?
Yeah, I joined Team Canada. I was a national champion when I was 13, and then I got to stay on Team Canada for about 10 years after that. And so I think that's really where a lot of my goal setting came into place. When I first made Team Canada, I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I have to do more of this. And it really just became a now I'm focused and I know what I want. Like I wanted to go to the Olympics and that was my number one goal. And so really having that experience, getting to meet all these new people who had the same goals and aspirations, really surrounding myself with that type of person, I think really changed how I acted in my day-to-day life.
Absolutely. That accountability piece is so big, being on a team, having the same goals and working together for that.
Yeah.
So do you feel like that really fit into your eventual transition into sales, or can you walk us through your collegiate transition to your professional career? And did you always know you wanted to be in sales?
Yeah, I actually had to start doing that transition earlier than I wanted to. I had a really bad spinal injury, so I had to medically redshirt in my junior year of school. So when that happened, I was really probably like most people listening, like, who am I if I'm not this athlete, right? I was Taylor the diver, and that's all I had really known and all I was, would pride myself on being good at. So making that switch was very difficult. And knowing that I always wanted to have goals, to me, sales became a really obvious fit for me because you have sales targets, right? You need to hit them month over month, quarter over quarter, yearly. So that's something I really latched onto. And I am a competitive person. I am very social. I love helping people. So sales seemed like the right fit. And I guess on paper, it happened pretty naturally, but it was very difficult to go through and know that that was the right spot for me.
Yeah, especially having to transition earlier than you wanted with the injury. I know a lot of listeners can relate to that. That can be a really big challenge in itself, having to lose your identity quickly and then overcome that and then having to get thrown really into the professional world.
Yeah, I think that gets downplayed. And that's one of the reasons, Jordan, I was just so excited to talk to you because going through that transition and not knowing who you are or the next thing you can feel really proud of that you do took a lot more, I think, mental strength than I expected. So I was really lucky that I tried sales and I fell in love with it and it's what I love to do. But I know a lot of people don't fall in that same boat, but I would recommend like try sales because if you are competitive like that and you love to have goals, to me, it happened really naturally over time.
Yeah. So since you said it happened to you naturally over time, can you walk us through that career transition then? How did you end up transitioning out of college, having to overcome that identity shift, and then how did you end up as a sales leader at Birkman?
Yeah, I once I had my spinal injury that summer, I started my first sales internship. And so I was going door to door doing outside sales. And I had a quota in the summer, which to me was so fun. And I got to make money for hitting that goal. So that was really cool to me because I'd never really had a job. I just dove. So that was really fun. And then going into my senior year, I was trying to look for my first full-time job. So I ended up doing medical device sales, my first job out of school. And then I went more into the software HR tech space, which is where I've been since then. I transitioned to sales leadership several years ago now, actually. But that's really something that I'm most passionate about because I always love to coach diving. And I'm sure a lot of people here do the coaching and the athletes at the same time. And so that's something where I really feel like I've planted my feet because of what I did as an individual sales rep. But now I can take that passion and apply it to sales leadership, which in my opinion is the best of both worlds. Like I think the best job I could ask for in being able to lead people and help them and succeed.
Yeah. You mentioned you did door-to-door sales. I'm curious about what your experience was like doing door-to-door, starting your sales career. And did you have any apprehension or nervousness about doing that at first? I know that can be intimidating to some people.
Yeah, I got basically a book of old business and I would call them and try to make meetings with them. And I would go to warehouses and I was working to sell like paper, packaging, all of like those things. So it was a really different experience, but honestly, I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it was like full to the fire, go and figure out if you can do this. And it was a low risk situation. It was just my summer internship. But I made some great connections there. The girl that also had the job, we're still friends. So it was really awesome to learn from that type of job and apply it into my future ones. I don't think I'd be where I was today without that type of experience first.
Yeah. Every experience really does matter. Like you had mentioned earlier, you weren't always certain sales, or it wasn't like, oh, try everything, like try sales, you had said.
Yeah.
And so having that door-to-door foot to the fire kind of experience
Yeah.
definitely made the difference for you down the road in your leadership roles. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm also curious too, you had mentioned med device. You started in med device and then you transitioned to software to HR and tech space. I work with a lot of candidates who express interest in eventually maybe exploring med device. What was the reason, or I guess what was your experience like in med device, and what prompted you to make the transition to tech?
Yeah, I had a great experience with medical device sales. It was inside, so I was mostly on the phone. So I wasn't going to the hospitals or visiting with doctors in person. But we sold portable oxygen, which great product. I'm really lucky. It was such a wonderful, life-changing product. I'd highly recommend that to anybody. But it was honestly just a little too emotional for me because I was dealing directly with the client, and I couldn't deal with that type of feeling towards all these people I was trying to help, but honestly, they were very old and very sick. So that was really difficult for me to deal with. Also having a quota to try to sell them this product. And so that was just emotionally hard for me. And so the switch to software tech in the HR space was definitely the right move for me.
Did you feel like there were a lot of transferable skills from that space to software tech, or what was maybe a major one for you?
The ability to talk to people, I think, is the biggest one, to actively listen to what their problems are and to find the right solution for them. I think that's the number one skill that you can learn from an entry-level sales job all the way through your career, actively listening and finding the right solution for somebody.
I love it. So you're director of sales and account management at Birkman. How did the opportunity for leadership present itself to you? I'm assuming it was probably over time, but a lot of listeners out there have an interest in sales leadership or leadership in general someday. So can you walk them through how you landed this opportunity in leadership, and maybe any advice you would have for people?
I got into leadership several jobs ago, and honestly, I think it kind of happened just by happenstance. I applied for one job, and I posted about this the other day. So it is, if you guys want to check it out, it's right there. But I applied for a job that was an individual contributor role, and through the interview process, I ended up not getting that job, but they called me back and wanted me to lead people. And I didn't feel like I was qualified to do that, but I was like, absolutely, this is my dream. This is what I've always wanted to do, is lead people. And now, I mean, I've been in sales leadership since then. Getting to lead people at a leadership company is one of the biggest joys. So the advice I would give people is to consistently manage up. The way I behaved in the interview process is what allowed me to have that job, by showing those traits of actively listening, managing up, asking the right questions, and showing your leadership capabilities in the way you conduct a room, I think is what really offered me that opportunity.
I think that's amazing advice, Taylor. Like, I've heard people on TikTok and Instagram talk about like behaving in the way you would if you had the job you wanted, or the lifestyle that you wanted. Like kind of putting on that persona and knowing what you're capable of. That obviously really impressed them.
And that's something that I think people need to continue to do. Like, ask for the opportunity, take on every opportunity that's given to you. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe you messed up along the way, but that's how you're going to learn from it. But if you don't ask for the opportunities or take advantage of them, then they'll stop coming.
Yeah. Amen to that. So you also mentioned you posted something on LinkedIn last week. So we're going to dive a little bit into your LinkedIn presence. I love it. I think it's so awesome. For everyone listening, Taylor creates a ton of sales content on LinkedIn. It's amazing advice. So I just want to know what really inspired you to start sharing that advice and putting yourself.
It's pretty new for me, honestly, and a little definitely out of my comfort zone. I really don't even post on Instagram. Like, I'm not on social media very much, but I think on LinkedIn, having a space where you can talk about what you're doing and what's working and what's not working, being able to build a network to get advice and to learn new ideas is so powerful. So that's one side of it. I also think having your personal brand is one of the most important things. And coming out of college, right, looking for a new job, your resume can't say everything. So if you can have one place on LinkedIn where they can get a glimpse of what I believe in as my sales philosophy, what I've done, and who is in my network, I think that's another great benefit that more people should take advantage of.
I totally agree, Taylor. I think the personal branding is so important in today's digital era. I mean, I talked to a month or so ago, Jess Spangler. She's the VP
Mm-hmm.
of sales at Workshop. And she had kind of laughed and she was like, I don't know if this is, the right answer, but
Yeah.
she's the VP of sales, so she can say what she wants in her philosophy. But she said she doesn't even look at resumes anymore for those entry level BDR, SDR candidates because it doesn't tell her what she needs to know about the person.
Yeah.
She wants to talk to them. She wants to see them interact, and
Mm-hmm.
putting yourself out there like that on LinkedIn, it's such a good way for others to get a glimpse into who you are and the way you interact.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I just think even from sales, like for everybody listening, it's a great way to find new clients, to connect with people that might not know what you're doing, or even when you're looking for a new job, like you can post and your network has your back. It doesn't have to be people you've worked with. It can be strangers you meet online who are in that same space and now know who you are and want to refer you to new jobs. So I think that's a real benefit.
That's so true. You never know where your next opportunity is going to come from, whether it's you saying yes to an opportunity at work or it's you putting yourself out there online.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said you were a little bit out of your comfort zone too. I'd love to know how you initially overcame any hesitation when creating that content.
Yeah, my husband has really been like, you should do it, because I've talked about it where I think it's important. And I know I have that value that it is important to me, but he's been very much like, you can do it, you should do it, like, it's good for you. And I think you have those like nervous feelings, and I think sometimes that's when it's the right thing to do. So I challenged one of my sales reps to start doing it as well. So then I didn't feel as alone in doing it. But I'm nervous to do more videos, but I know it's the right thing to do.
I love that. I've done the same where I posted a couple of things on TikTok and or on LinkedIn too, and it's like you post it, hit post, and then you close the computer and run away.
But then you start getting people that are like, oh, I saw this, like that was really nice, or even it just comes up in other conversations where it's like, oh, this was like this reminded me to do this at work, or I thought about something a new way. And to be able to build more camaraderie around sales advice and how other people are dealing with the market right now, I think just having more dialogue.
Agreed. And you can learn something from anybody. Yeah. I believe that. So your experience is unique. Others will find value in that, and they'll find that sense of community with you.
Definitely. Yeah.
Speaking of something you posted as well. So I was looking through your posts on LinkedIn. I saw that you posted a hot topic. I see this all the time on LinkedIn in the sales world. People say cold calling is dead.
Yeah.
So I'd love if you could speak to that misconception a little bit and maybe share some of your insights surrounding whether or not to cold call.
Please cold call. Everybody pick up the phone. It's so important. You can send a million emails, and honestly, LinkedIn too. You can send your emails, but the fastest way to have a real conversation is to pick up the phone. You'll get voicemails, you'll get the receptionist, you'll come across those gatekeepers, but if you do enough of it, you will find the diamond in the rough and get through the right person. I posted that after I had gotten one cold call that week, and I took the meeting, because that's how valuable a cold call is if you can reach the right person. So call their mobile phones. If people aren't calling, then you're the only one that's doing it. That's why I got that cold call, because everybody else is too scared or thinks it's too busy. So please pick up the phone. That's how you'll book meetings. That's how you'll build pipeline. It's so important.
I love that. Did you?
Box.
I love it. No, amen. Mic drop. I know everyone at Shift Group would love that message. Pick up the phone, call. My husband's been in sales for over 10 years and he's an IC, and he doesn't need to cold call, right, but he still does because it works. It's valuable.
Yes.
How do you coach your team to overcome any apprehension around cold calling?
Honestly, we've started to make it just more fun. In my previous job, I ran our business development department. So it was very cold call heavy because that's how I wanted everybody to book their meetings. That was what they were tasked with. So we used like a power dialer. We had all of the prospecting nailed down. And so for them, we just made it really fun. Like, how many song lyrics can you get into your cold call, right? Who had the worst objection today? And there are some different platforms you can use to be in a room together on the phone, because we were all remote. Here my company right now, we're in the office. And so they'll just be in the hallway and trying to call cell phones and we can hear each other talking. So that's been more fun. It definitely has still a lot of apprehension, but I think if you make it fun and you provide some sort of goal with the calls, then it can be much more successful.
Yeah, making it fun. I like the song lyrics idea.
Yeah.
Make
Or movie lyrics, anything like that, that you can spice it up and really catch someone off guard. You need to get their attention quickly. So
Yeah. So you've built out entire BDR programs. So I would love to know, we work with a lot of candidates here at Shift Group who are aspiring to break into tech, become BDRs and SDRs. When you're hiring for your team or when you're looking for attributes in candidates, what specifically do you look for in those entry-level roles?
Yeah, one of the biggest things is their curiosity, right? Like, are they asking questions? Do they follow up more for more information once I give them an answer, right? So it's really taking any objection and turning it around, or they learned something, keep digging. Like, how far can you take this conversation to where it's hard for me to even come back on track? That's what I want to see from a BDR, is like, just keep digging, because it's just like in a sales call when you want to keep digging for their pain points. Why are we on this meeting? What are they looking for? What problems are they having? I want that to them to bring that out of me during the interview.
Yeah. Are there any specific red flags you've seen or something that would make you hesitant about a candidate?
If they don't follow up after the interview, number one thing, call or email, do your follow-up the day of is ideal. Hey, Taylor, thank you so much for meeting with me. I love talking about this, learning this. I'm so excited to hear from you for next steps. Like, send the follow-up email. It makes me confident in your sales ability to lead a prospect through the sales process.
We can just end the interview right there. I think that's like everything that we hit home about day after day at Shift Group is how important that is. And it's a tough pill to swallow. It's a tough lesson to learn. Like, it's the difference maker between you and another candidate when it's close.
It has led me to not hire somebody because they didn't give me a follow-up email, honestly, multiple times, because someone else did.
Right.
So do the follow-ups, say thank you.
Yes. For companies then, how important is it to get the hiring process right?
Yeah, I think the hiring process at companies is honestly a really risky situation to make sure you're able to identify the right characteristics. So a lot of companies do assessments, like we at Birkman, we use Birkman to make sure we know kind of what to expect from this person and what they expect from their environment. So that's something we look at. But the onboarding, I think, is just as important, right? How familiar are you getting them with the tools? What do they know coming into it? And where can we focus to make sure we get them up to speed as quickly as possible, especially for someone new to sales, right? Mm-hmm. For an entry-level role, your first sales job, I'm more looking at your personality traits instead of like what you've done previously. So can you show me that you're driven, that you won't give up, you're resilient, and you're a nice person to work with? I think that's an undervalued skill to look for in interviews.
Yeah, definitely. I do have one question on the onboarding piece. You mentioned how important that is for new candidates.
Yeah.
Maybe you have experience with this. We have some candidates maybe that are going into an environment for their first role where there isn't a really comprehensive onboarding program. How would you encourage those candidates to get up to speed quickly? Are there any resources that you would recommend that they can seek out on their own, maybe to increase their knowledge?
Oh, great question. I love that. One of the best things I'd recommend is to book time with people's calendar at your new company, whether it's product, marketing, all the sales leaders, successful account executives, other successful BDRs, but also in different departments, so you can learn about what they do, and that will inherently teach you more about the product that you're selling. That's one of the most fundamental things that takes so long for people to get comfortable with when they're getting objections and they don't know where to go, what the product does, and they're not confident in that. So meet with as many people as you can, be curious, ask questions, and just keep learning about what you do so that you do sound like the expert.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think it's a little bit undervalued to meet with other people that are not in your department within a company.
Yeah.
so much insight that maybe you didn't think about or from a different perspective.
They do. And honestly, it just opens up so many doors when you have connections across the company. When you need something as a sales rep, like help with something or a case study or anything, if you have those relationships, people are so much more willing to help you and give you advice and really further your career. So it pays off in a multitude of ways, and really just being a nice person and building your network.
Absolutely. Like we said before, you never know where that next opportunity is going to come from.
Yeah.
Are there any misconceptions about sales that you would clear up for any newcomers who are just dipping their toe into the professional world?
I think sales isn't sleazy. You're not doing something wrong by selling somebody something. And I think a lot of people see it wrong that salespeople are just trying to sell. No, like I'm really trying to help you. And I'm selling you something because I know I have the right solution to your problems. Maybe I don't know that on the first phone call, but I have a hunch that what I'm providing could be of value to you. And we'll figure that out together over the course of the sales process. But I do think, and I think it's becoming more clear across the board, but sales reps are really consultants and will help you figure out what you need to solve this problem. And at the end of the day, I think it's a really rewarding career to be able to help people solve their problems and make their lives easier.
Yeah. So we have a couple minutes left. So I have a couple more questions that I want to get to for you, excuse me. So what is the best career advice you've ever received, and how has it shaped your approach to leadership?
This one might not be specifically career advice, but I think one of the best pieces of advice that I always go back to is to do something that you're proud of. And that can be in anything in life. But for me, like when I think about it with my career, am I selling something that I'm proud of? Is the way that I'm communicating with clients something that I'm proud of? How I'm working with my team, am I proud of that? And if I'm not proud of what I'm doing, then it's like, okay, something's wrong and I need to fix it. Maybe I'm not in the right seat. Maybe I don't have the right team. Maybe I need a new job. But am I proud of what I'm doing at the end of the day? I think is something I always go back to. And that helps me know from a work-life balance perspective if I'm also in the right thing. So that's one of the biggest things for me is just, am I proud of what I'm doing? And I think if you are proud of it, then good things keep happening.
I think that's an amazing gut check. Like, am I proud when the workday is done? And maybe if not, then it's a sign of you need to reevaluate.
Yeah.
I love that. So as athletes, we mentioned the identity piece early in our conversation. It's a big one, especially when transitioning out of our sport into the professional world. We tend to put our identity in exactly what we're doing for work or sport. So I just want to know, Taylor, what fills your cup outside of work?
Yeah, I have an 11-month-old baby, and she fills my cup more than I could ever expect. She's just the best thing that ever happened to me. So my 11-month-old, she's awesome. But I also love to be outside. I love to do activities. Like I love paddleboarding, skiing, which I don't get to do as much as I would like. But being outside, exercising. I'm a yoga teacher on the side just for fun. So activities and then just spending time with my family.
The yoga piece. I love that. I am too, a certified yoga instructor.
Yes.
So you need that balance a little bit and maybe
slow down.
Yes. And maybe the balance comes in seasons, like being a sales leader, a mom. You need those activities to kind of separate and I guess, ground yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Amazing. So last question for you, Taylor. What advice would you offer to women or specifically just anyone who's considering a career in sales?
I think the best advice I would give you is to try it with your whole heart, right? Don't half try. If you want to get into sales, I would get in with the same mentality that you have in your sport because you're all the listeners, I'm assuming, are very committed, very good at what they do. So if you can apply that to a career in sales, you will be successful. It's the number one thing that I look for in potential sales reps is if they have an athletic background, which is super biased, but I just believe in the skills and the qualities that athletes have and that they bring to the workplace, especially in sales. So if you get in there and you set your eyes on a goal, there's no reason you can't accomplish it. So that's really my best advice is to go for it.
Go for it. Thank you so much, Taylor. This was so great. I really appreciate your time on the show. Can I encourage anyone to connect with you on LinkedIn and follow your content.
Definitely. Connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message. Happy to meet with anybody and really just go back and forth with ideas, advice, and really just brainstorm. So thank you so much for having me, Jordan. This was fun.
I'm so glad you could be here, Taylor. Seriously, I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you, everyone, for listening. You can catch the replay here on LinkedIn, or it'll be available on our YouTube afterwards. And please connect with Taylor. She has great content and advice out there.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you.